It happens every couple years, it seems. But new rumors have been drummed up yet again that Apple is building a car. Except this time, they come with fairly substantive proof that yes, an Apple car is coming. Let's talk about the current market landscape, what Apple could bring to the table, and if an Apple car really makes sense at all. For those that thought, wait, new rumors yet again? Yes, Apple's Project Titan has been under development for years. And while Apple has never publicly mentioned the project's existence, it has a long, storied, and not always cohesive history. The vision of an Apple car actually dates back to Steve Jobs. It was a long-time dream of co-founder Jobs. In 2015, Mickey Drexler, who was an Apple Board of Directors member, stated that Jobs began expressing interest in building an electric vehicle clear back in 2008, around the same time the original Tesla Roadster shipped. Prior Apple executive Tony Fadell, aka the father of the iPod, and later the CEO of Nest, those thermostats, well, he corroborated that indeed Steve Jobs was interested in working on a car shortly after the launch of the first iPhone. Now, while Jobs didn't live to see the project become a reality, it seems that Cook realized the founder's dream, establishing Project Titan as an Apple car project in 2014. And rapidly the project grew. By 2015, it was reported that Apple had more than 500 engineers working on the project, and with some really big industry names involved, like Johan Jungwirth, the former Mercedes-Benz executive, Chris Porritt, a Tesla VP and former Aston Martin chief engineer, and then there's Alexander Hotzinger, technical director of Porsche. The list could go on for quite some time. They had some A-list people. So it was clear that Project Titan had the automotive industry leadership and the engineering talent. The question is, what were they going to actually do with all of that? Were they themselves going to build an electric vehicle and sell it through their own dealer network and service it and become a car company? Or perhaps, because that's a little too extreme, they just make software and license it to existing automakers. But what would that software entail? Would it be autonomous driving software? Or maybe it would just be extremely good infotainment, making for an iOS-like experience in an otherwise standard car made by another manufacturer? Would this car and would the software be available to general consumers or only the transportation industry? Yes, to all of these is the answer. Or at least so it seems. What? Well, reports over the years have stated that Apple has waffled back and forth on whether or not they themselves would make a car and to what extent the software should be developed with autonomy. Basically, Apple lacked a clear vision, according to reports, and usually I disregard these reports because they're largely unreliable. For example, there are always articles like 2 weeks before the iPhone keynote saying that Apple is currently finalizing hardware or deciding between these two features. No, hardware is finalized multiple months before the new iPhones are unveiled, and mass production begins weeks leading up to the keynote. But you see, reports about Apple and this vehicle are starting to seem more true, and not just because of how numerous they are. At its peak, there were reported to be more than 5,000 employees working on the project. But those engineers I mentioned previously, well, every single one of them left Apple from 2015 to 2019, and a lot of other big names in the industry that Apple had hired followed them. In 2019, Apple laid off or reassigned hundreds of workers from the project, and in early 2020, it seemed that the project may have been killed altogether. And so that's where the video ends, right? No. In the 6 years since the project began, all we know for certain as the public is that Apple had at one point been working on autonomous driving software. How do we know this? Well, in 2018, the FBI arrested an ex-Apple employee for corporate espionage, trading confidential information to the Chinese automaker Xiaopeng. Additionally, a human driver, a person, hit an Apple autonomous car. So there was an autonomous car accident, but the car was not at fault. It was the human behind the other car. And Apple had to disclose that it had 66 road-registered cars with 111 individuals trained to operate them on public roads. But over the years, their miles logged have decreased significantly to the point of last year almost being non-existent. Long morning. Existent. Oh, and if Elon Musk is to be believed, he said that he actually approached Tim Cook to buy out Tesla in 2017 during early Model 3 production, and Cook didn't even ever return his call. Ouch. Now, whether or not Project Titan was on its last legs in 2019 is a story that frankly we'll probably never know. But what does seem certain is that new life has been given to the project in the last 12 months. Longtime Apple executive Bob Mansfield, who oversaw the project since its inception, retired in 2020. And John Giandria, the former Google artificial intelligence chief, the guy that helped make Google Assistant, and who is now Apple's current vice president of machine learning and artificial intelligence strategy, he took over Project Titan, allegedly. And that guy is... More notably, two spicy new reports, and I'm talking really new, have just leaked, which kind of show Apple's cards a little bit in their anticipated strategy moving forward. Just a couple days ago, it was reported that Apple had approached electric vehicle startup Canoe in early 2020 because Apple was interested in Canoe's electric skateboard. No, not this, not a boosted board, but this. When referring to an EV, a skateboard is, similarly, a self-contained platform with the structural chassis, batteries, the drive components, all the important hard stuff integrated into it. Then it can be topped with a variety of different bodies and form factors, shared platforms, so to speak. It's reported that Apple wanted to partner with Canoe, but that Canoe was kind of more looking for an acquisition rather than a partnership, and so the deal never materialized. And now we get to today, 2020. Just a couple of days ago, Korean automaker Hyundai told the Korea Economic Daily that, quote, Apple and Hyundai are in discussions, but they are at an early stage and nothing has been decided. Whoa, Hyundai. First rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about your deals with Apple. Come on, man.
You do not talk about Fight Club.
Well, despite quickly retracting that statement less than 10 minutes after making it, and removing any mention of Apple, Hyundai's stock rose more than 19%, which was the biggest single rise in the Seoul stock market since 1988. Now, the report entailed that Apple would either have Hyundai manufacture its vehicles at the Kia Motors Georgia factory, or that Apple would partner with Hyundai and build an entirely new factory capable of up to 400,000 units annually, specifically for Apple's new vehicle or vehicles. Holy crap! Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. Contrary to public belief, electric cars are not difficult to make. They're batteries, they're a couple of motors, throw in an inverter or two, a simple cooling system, and you're done. Building electric vehicles is significantly easier than building internal combustion engines. But you might have noticed that electric vehicles are not necessarily created equal. And legacy automakers are struggling to compete with the Teslas of the world, with their performance numbers, with their range, with their charge rates, and of course their charging networks. If I ask you the word Tesla and software, what's the thing that comes into your mind? For me and most other people, it would be autopilot, the assisted driving software. Forget about that for a minute, okay? Pretend it does not exist. Tesla doesn't have autopilot. Their cars still have better range with smaller battery packs and better performance numbers at a lower price than most of its other luxury competitors. And for the electric vehicles that do beat Tesla on price, it's usually after insane discounts and federal rebates, and the cars come with significantly lesser capabilities and a design that, only a mother could love. The instant torque, the incredibly smooth regenerative braking, the pack conditioning, the torque vectoring to increase the range, this is all software. The Tesla cars are computers more than they are cars. And it's all software that continues to find its way into older vehicles. My 2018 Model 3 has the same number of software features as the brand new 2021 Model 3, and I continue to get updates just as often. Since I purchased my car, it can now do things that it didn't used to be able to do, like watch TV, charge more quickly, drive itself on the highways, and stop at traffic lights. It has a built-in 4-camera dash cam that records everything, even when the car is parked, and so many more features. All of that was added for free. Tesla has completely flipped the automotive industry on its head and the way that software distribution is handled. What features used to be locked to specific model years are not any longer. And, how do you compete with that? Especially considering that legacy automakers have a long history of farming out software development to the lowest bidder in India and Russia and China. And now, those automakers are competing with software because these are computers with one of Silicon Valley's top tech firms with some of the best software engineers in the world. they're doomed, right? Well, no, I don't think so, because I think they're discovering very quickly that, well, maybe on software they can't compete with Tesla. In the hardware department, they absolutely can. I mean, their cars and their fit and finish and their manufacturing process and their reliability. But, well, with software, And so maybe, just maybe, that's where Apple can bring experience to the table. Because love them or hate them, you have to at least recognize that Apple is widely considered one of the best human interface designers in the world. And while Ive and Jobs are no longer at the company, their focus on design and ease of use is still very much at the core of Apple's mantra. Now, from a hardware standpoint, Apple could also potentially bring a lot to the table. We're not just talking software here, because Apple has focused a lot on batteries in the last few years. And a report from a couple months ago stated that Apple had developed a new novel monocell design with a lithium iron phosphate compensation, which is a safer chemical composition than kind of more traditional lithium-ion batteries, which in theory could mean safer batteries with longer range. But good old Elon Musk dissented on Twitter, stating that, well, Tesla already uses LFP technology on some of its cars at its Shanghai factory, and that true monocell design is electrochemically impossible. So it's more likely that Apple would be attempting to bond the cells together, which, Tesla already does. Now, I'm not saying that Musk is wrong, and money, it's great, but it can't beat physics. However, Apple has been spending billions in secret battery development over the last decade or so, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've created a way to either create a vehicle with higher range or lower cost battery packs for their vehicles. Oh, and let's not forget self-driving. Again, Apple was driving their cars autonomously at some point. But this is the part that makes the least sense to me. Self-driving, as we've all surmised, is really freaking hard. And each company is approaching it with much different strategies from a hardware and software standpoint. For example, Google Waymo is currently servicing a few test cities via a ride-sharing service. And I rode in one of the cars. It works really, really well. It was amazing. But the conditions were ideal. I was in a geofenced area inside of a hand-mapped city. And Waymo cars, as of right now, to my knowledge, are not intelligent enough to determine things on the fly. Tesla, on the other hand, takes a far more gutsy approach by using almost entirely computer vision and machine learning and teaching the vehicle how to spot and react to different traffic situations rather than tell it how to. And it's not perfect, not even close. I mean, Waymo is a way smoother experience. But autopilot does work a lot better than you'd expect, and you can actually use it in your car in the public today. And it's only getting better. And they're not the only ones. GM's Cadillac Super Cruise continues to be one of the best systems on mapped highways, and Ford's new Copilot 360 follows in the same vein. Look, everyone is doing self-driving, and I don't want to seem like a pessimist, but this really doesn't seem like Apple's strong suit. While they clearly have the ability to develop the silicon and software to support machine learning applications, I don't particularly see Apple releasing anything that's less than perfect and with near zero liability. And that's just, frankly, decades away still. And I have no confidence at all that Apple would really even be able to match Waymo, Tesla, or others if they tried and didn't care about liability, which they very much do, especially given their stances on privacy. The others record your every move as a driver and of those surrounding you. This is the same company that continues to be insistent on privacy being the focus of their company, to the point where they even excuse stuff like Siri being complete garbage to be able to brag about said privacy. So the fact that they're going to start logging and recording a bunch of data for machine learning purposes, it doesn't seem likely. All in all, I think this is an interesting future and an interesting idea. Look, Hyundai is not cool, but they're making very good electric cars, and it seems like Apple's plans to use them as an OEM similar to Foxconn is a good idea. The car industry works together all the time, like the Toyota Supra and BMW Z4, or Honda's recent investment into GM's self-driving software, etc. I mean, there are a lot of unknowns that remain unanswered here. That's all well and good. Everything is possible, especially considering that the timeline is estimated to be 4 to 10 years, but 4 to 10 years is still really quick, and there are a lot of unknowns that remain unanswered. And every time I think about this Apple Car project, I think, How are they going to do this? I mean, where and how will these vehicles be sold and serviced? At new Apple Car dealerships, or are they going to do that through Hyundai at existing Hyundai dealerships, which, by the way, do not have a great record for service? What charging network will these cars use? And will Apple be able to sell a car that can compete with Tesla when it comes to cross-country travel? Or are they just going to be complacent selling a computer that's good but flawed? Will it charge via Lightning? The industry is changing so much. And from autonomy to the idea of vehicle ownership disappearing altogether, the next decade or two are going to be really surprising and have a ton of perhaps turns that none of us expected to be in store, including from traditional automakers. The question is if Apple is going to be involved. And, well, money points to them at least trying to get involved. Yeah. So what do you think about the alleged Apple Car? Does it make any sense at all? What would it need to have for you to be compelled to buy one? And at what price? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's have a civil, happy discourse. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you didn't, well, send this video to someone you don't like. They'll hate it. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.